Long ago the elves were one, but fear changed that. The Light Elves claimed the highlands, calling themselves protectors of peace. The others, pushed underground, became the Dark Elves, labeled cursed, blamed for silence and storms. A final war sealed the divide. And Leora's father, a respected general, led the last mission into the dark. He never returned. No one questioned the story. Except her. Liora grew up inside royal walls, but she never felt at home in them. Everyone spoke of honor, but no one dared mention the war's cost. The silence around her father wasn't respect, it was fear. She stands in a quiet corridor with her guard, Mareth. The air is tense between them.
Do you remember the day he left?
I remember the silence after.
They act like he vanished for glory.
They need the story to stay clean.
But the truth isn't.
She didn't expect an answer from him. She only needed one thing, a reason to stop waiting. And Moonveil was that reason. That night, as the twin moons climbed, Liora stepped away from the life she was born into. No guards, no crown, just questions. The forest at the border was quiet. She felt it, the air shifting. Moonveil had begun. Mareth follows, catching up at the last ridge.
You will lose more than your title if they find out.
Then let them take it.
You might find something you can't come back from.
I hope so.
She crossed the invisible line, not just between kingdoms, but between the world she was told to trust and the truth she needed to find. Liora walked slowly into the trees. No one followed her. The deeper she went, the more silent the world became. Then she heard it, a voice. Someone was singing, steady and quiet.
Still silent.
She paused, then moved toward it without thinking.
Between the breath.
A young man stood a few steps from the ruins. He turned when he sensed her. They stared at each other. Neither moved.
Are you here to kill me?
No, I sing for the stars. And for anyone who still listens.
His face didn't show fear or hate. He looked calm, like this wasn't his first time waiting.
What's your name?
You'll know it if you come back.
He walked into the trees without another word. Liora stayed behind, unsure if she had just made a mistake or opened a door. The next night, she came back. No one told her to. No one gave her permission, but she needed more than silence. Kalin stepped out from the shadows. He didn't seem surprised to see her.
You are not lost.
You said I would know your name if I came back.
My name is Kalin.
They stood quietly. Neither moved closer, but neither wanted to leave.
My father, General Eliar, led the last march into your kingdom.
I know the name.
They say he died in an ambush, that he never made it past the edge.
They also say we live in caves and drink the blood of animals.
That's not what I believe.
But you were raised in a place that needed us to be monsters. It made the story easier.
Then tell me the truth. Did your people kill him?
If I say no, will it change anything?
Liora didn't speak. She came for answers. Now she had to decide if she could handle them. They kept meeting. No schedule, no agreement. But they returned, both of them, more than once. Not for peace, not yet, but for something neither of them could name.
They say your people once tried to steal something from us.
What was that? What do you mean?
A root that connects both realms. They called it cursed. We called it life.
Liora didn't know if it was real or legend, but it didn't sound like something made up. Back in Lunaria, nothing had changed, but everything felt different. Even the air inside the palace felt heavier.
You don't walk like someone with answers.
I'm not looking for answers anymore.
Then what?
For the truth they never wanted us to ask for.
She left him standing there, and he didn't follow, not yet. Kalin was already there when Liora arrived. She stopped a few steps from him.
You sure about this?
I've crossed worse lines.
He turned and walked ahead. She followed without needing to ask. They entered the trees together. No guards, no one followed. The trees grew darker as they moved in. Kalin didn't speak right away. Neither did she.
You were taught we were twisted.
Cursed that you lived underground?
We don't. We just learned to survive outside your sight.
Liora kept her eyes on the ground. There was no reply to give that wouldn't sound like denial. He pointed to a trunk split down the middle. A carved symbol stretched across both sides.
This is older than the split, when the land was one.
You mean before Lunaria?
Before the lie.
Liora stepped closer and looked. The carving had no words, just marks. But it made her feel like something had been taken. They stopped at a cracked stone table, low to the ground. Dust and vines covered most of it. Kalin wiped across the surface with his hand, revealing a broken circular emblem.
They called it the heart. It fed both sides once.
Then what happened?
Your side tried to take it. They failed.
Liora didn't step back. She stared at the broken emblem and thought of a different circle, her father's seal.
He believed we had a right to lead. He wasn't a liar.
Then maybe he was just used.
Her jaw tightened. She didn't defend him again. Kalin turned and started walking. Liora followed behind him. Neither of them said anything for the rest of the path. But neither of them walked like strangers anymore. Liora crossed the palace threshold without a word. Everyone watched her, but no one stopped her. She wasn't sneaking in. She had nothing to hide. Queen Selathiel stood where Liora would see her. They didn't exchange greetings.
You've walked among them.
They are not what you said.
Selathiel turned away without replying. Liora kept walking. Liora entered her father's old war chamber. The room hadn't been touched in years. Maps still lined the walls. Old weapons and scrolls were covered in dust. She stepped over to the large desk. One drawer was locked, another left cracked open. Inside was a folded map. Pinned to it was a royal seal, her mother's. She opened the map. It marked the location of the heart of Iththeon, but there were 2 notes beside it. One was her father's writing.
They'll call it betrayal, but truth demands it.
The other note was short and unsigned.
If he doesn't return, burn what he found.
Liora stared at the handwriting on the second note. It wasn't her father's, and it wasn't a stranger's. Liora walked into the royal chamber with the note in her hand.
Did you write this?
You've seen things you were not meant to.
So you knew. You knew what he found, and you let them silence him.
Selathiel didn't look at the paper. She didn't deny it. She didn't answer at all. Liora turned and walked out. The queen didn't call her back. Something had broken. Selatiel called General Corrin to her inner chambers 2 days after Liora returned. No other advisors were summoned, no formal meeting held. She gave her instruction without delay.
Send the second patrol through the eastern lowlands. No banners. I want them in travel wear, but armed.
You believe the Dark Elves moved first?
My daughter crossed their line. She returned alive. That means she saw something. Or someone.
She hasn't spoken about it.
She doesn't have to. She's asking questions no one gave her. And she's looking in places that were locked for a reason.
Selatiel ordered that all remaining documents on General Eliar's final mission be sealed under direct royal code. Patrol shifts were updated the same night. The Queen issued no royal speech, no war was declared, but the kingdom was already moving. Kalin stood near the lower forest clearing when a young runner approached him, carrying an ash-marked cloth. The sigil burned into the fabric was a signal from the old wars. Quiet movement, not public threat.
They've moved. 3 groups near the eastern ridge, no emblems. Quiet, but not hiding.
Where are they heading?
Toward the line we held last summer. If they cross it, they'll be standing inside our boundary.
Kalin gave the order to prepare defensive wards and relocate all scouting camps deeper into Umbra ground. He knew this wasn't an attack. Not yet. But it was a warning. He didn't need a council to understand the message. Selatiel was moving first. Liora bypassed the locked archive wing, using a copied seal she had pressed days earlier from her mother's crest. She presented a forged inquiry about border agreements to the archivist and was allowed in alone. She found her father's campaign file untouched. 3 mission scrolls were inside. The last one wasn't in his hand. It was in the Queen's court script. She read it aloud under her breath.
If the general pursues contact beyond the Umbra boundary, his command is revoked. Recovery not authorized. No return required.
There was no official signature, but the court seal pressed into the bottom confirmed it came from the palace. Her father's fate wasn't a battlefield failure. It was a closed door. She left the scrolls exactly as she found them and stepped away. Liora entered the High Court with the scroll tucked beneath her arm. She didn't request a hearing. She took the center floor and unrolled the evidence in full view.
This scroll proves my father was cut off. The crown revoked his return. He wasn't lost. He was sent to vanish.
You're bringing accusations without author signatures.
The seal is real. The order was placed by someone within the Queen's circle.
You don't understand the burden of those times. We cannot rewrite every page of history because it's painful.
I'm not asking you to rewrite it. I'm telling you to stop hiding it.
No elder reached for the scroll. No questions followed. The chamber remained quiet until she rolled the parchment back. Kalin crouched near the northern cliff, observing from a stone perch beside Ryan and Thalos. Below, Light Elf units moved in formation, without colors, without declaration, but fully armed.
They're inside the old vine path that's 2 lines deep. They're past diplomacy.
Don't move on them yet, but reinforce the lower watch post. If they push further, we block them.
The Queen wants us to strike first.
Then don't give her that excuse.
He ordered camp repositioning across 3 sectors. No war was announced, but it no longer needed to be. The Queen had broken the line. Liora returned to her quarters and wrote without court formality or royal tone.
You said there were truths buried in the dark. I didn't believe you. Now I know my father was buried there too. By silence. By design. My mother covered it. My court ignored it. I don't belong in this place if truth can be killed so quietly.
She folded the letter and tucked it beneath the loose stone by her travel cloak. She didn't seal it. She didn't sign it. It was not for the council. It was for the choice she would have to make soon, the one between where she was born and where she now belonged. Liora walked the old envoy path, the one that hadn't been used since the last war. She moved fast, not looking back. When the tunnel opened at the base of the cliffs, Kalin was already there.
You came back.
I couldn't keep chasing rumors. I need the truth, from someone who has no reason to lie.
Then keep walking.
He turned toward the dark path behind him. She followed without another word. They walked along the main trail into the lower district. Glowing lines of root light followed the walls. The streets were quiet. She paused and started asking questions.
My father led the march across this border. They said he was ambushed, but you told me he stayed.
Not just stayed. He chose to stop fighting, and your queen didn't forgive him for it.
You're saying she sent him here to die?
I'm saying she left him here because he saw something she didn't want to explain.
Liora didn't ask another question. She already knew the answer. And they continue moving. Kalin led her into a quiet chamber beneath the central hall. The ground was flat. A thick root ran across it, splitting into two lines toward opposite walls.
This is where it pulses, sometimes only once a year, sometimes not at all.
What does it want?
Balance, and a reason to wake up.
She stood near the center of the root. It stayed still, as if listening. An elder guided them down a narrow stairwell. At the bottom, stone tablets rested inside a sunken vault.
This was carved after the heart sealed. It's the only record not written by either crown.
The markings showed two symbols, one gold, one dark, intertwined like binding roots. Below them, a small droplet was etched.
When light and shadow touched in peace, the land changed. But war broke it. The heart closed itself.
What would open it again?
Only a willing bond. A life born of both realms. Given, not taken. That's the law carved into the ground before the first throne.
Why would it need blood?
Because both sides spilled it to close the door. Now only one life, freely given, can open it.
They left the archive and walked toward the root chamber. The halls were quiet. Kalin entered first. The heart was already glowing. A single steady pulse ran across its veins.
Do you think it knows?
It's waking. You felt it too, didn't you? When you touched it.
Then we're the reason. That's what the seers meant.
If that tablet is true, one of us has to die.
I came to find peace, not trade lives.
Peace was never free, not here, not between us.
What if there's another way?
Then we find it. But if we don't,
He didn't finish. He didn't need to. The heart pulsed again, brighter this time than still. Kalin led Liora to a chamber carved above the village slope. Inside, 4 elders sat at a wide stone table.
So she returns. Is it true then? The heart pulsed?
twice, once when she entered, again when she touched it.
Then the curse is real, and the price hasn't changed.
The queen is preparing her army. She crossed the shadow line searching for me.
She'll use your crossing as her excuse. She always needed one.
She's coming, whether the curse breaks or not. If we don't decide now, the war will meet us here.
The elders exchanged looks. None disagreed.
Then the next time the heart pulses, someone must be ready. Look at the flat stone relic, marked with an ancient seal.
Kalin stared at the symbols carved into the surface, 2 split rings and an older mark between them.
This record was left before the sealing. Neither light nor dark wrote it.
What does it say?
That when unity is broken by war, it can only be restored by a life touched by both realms, given freely, no spell, no battle, just blood born of peace.
That's what it wants? A sacrifice?
No, that's what it needs, to undo the silence.
Kalin lowered his gaze to the center mark. He didn't speak again. The king listened as a guard reported the elder's findings and Kalin's involvement. He gave no reaction until the message ended.
She came back, and the heart responded.
The elders are preparing the lower side.
Tell the Eastern Guard to seal the ridge tunnels. If Selatiel crosses into the shadows again, I want her stopped before she reaches our center.
He turned to one of his generals and issued further instructions.
She will use the girl to rewrite history. Not at all. We won't let her do that.
The glow under the root had doubled in strength. As Kalin got closer, it responded with a sudden burst of light that held for several seconds.
It's not random. It's choosing.
No, it's remembering what was lost and what was promised.
You think it wants your blood?
It doesn't want anything, but it won't stop until it's given what it's owed.
The king listened as 2 generals reported increased activity along the northern ridge and western slope. He gave short, direct answers.
Triple the lower line. If they breach that, fall to second position and close the back hold.
Should we confront them?
Not yet. Let her strike first. Then we end it.
He dismissed the commanders without hesitation.
We defend the realm, not the memory of it.
Kalin remained quiet as the sound of preparation echoed around them. Liora finally broke the silence.
If this curse demands something from us, we have to face it before they do.
They'll never accept peace if they think it was bought through loss.
They'll accept it if it means the war ends.
And if they don't?
Then we give it anyway.
The light spread farther along the wall than before. A constant hum came with it, low, steady, impossible to ignore.
It's calling again.
It knows we are here.
Then we don't have long time.
Selatiel stood at the head of her command line. Light elf captains waited behind her. One stepped forward, ready to speak. She raised her arm instead.
No more messages. No more delays. Move.
Her army marched into the lower woods. They crossed the old border by torchlight. The moment they stepped into shadow, the invasion began. A drow scout entered the chamber with a report to tell the king.
They crossed. 8 squads, eastern line.
How close?
Less than a day from the wall.
Seal the western gate. Lock down the village level. Bring the girl to me. Now.
Liora followed 2 guards without resisting. They brought her to the stone hall where the ruler waited. He stood facing a wall of weapon racks.
You brought war into my home.
She brought it chasing me.
And why did you come back?
Because the lie couldn't hold anymore.
He turned part way, still hiding most of his face. The voice struck something in her memory.
I've heard you before.
He stepped closer but stayed in the dark edge of the chamber. She stared at him, searching for confirmation.
When the war ended, what did they tell you happened to your general?
They said he was ambushed, that his men were buried in shadow.
And you believed it?
I had no reason not to.
His hand reached toward a carved seal on the wall, a mark Liora had once seen on her father's armor. She said nothing, but her breath caught. Kalin entered the chamber fast. He stood between Liora and the king.
You knew, this whole time.
You wouldn't have come this far if you knew what stood behind you.
You could have stopped the curse from the beginning.
And sealed my daughter's fate in the light?
The word daughter froze the room. Liora stepped back, eyes locked on the king. He removed the crest from his robe. The emblem was the one she remembered. Silver branch, broken sun.
I didn't die in that war. I woke up, and I stayed here, because the truth would have destroyed you.
You left me.
I was taken. Then I chose to remain, because this realm needed a ruler who wouldn't lie to keep the throne.
Neither spoke for a long moment.
Then help me finish what you started.
Kalin stood close to the heart again. It pulsed stronger when he was near.
You're still thinking about it.
It's not just me. The heart keeps reacting. We can't ignore it.
I don't care what it does. You promised we would find another way.
Then let's keep looking.
Swear you won't do it without me.
I swear.
She held his gaze for a moment, then walked away. King Eliar handed her a message from the elders. They wanted her to mediate a growing dispute at the outer tunnels.
The unrest is getting worse. You're the only one they trust.
I will go, but only for a short while.
You're doing the right thing. I will stay here.
You stay right here. Don't move.
Now, who's giving orders?
I mean it!
She left with 2 guards. Kalin stood before the heart alone. Eliar entered.
She believed you.
She should have. It was easier that way.
You're really doing this.
It chose me. This is how we end it.
I walked away from lies once. You are about to become one.
She will forgive me. One day.
Kalin stretched his hand and placed it on the roots. The light flickers down to the waters, and he died. As Kalin's body went still, the heart pulsed outward, not in light or shadow, but something between. A wave of energy surged through the caverns and beyond. In the tunnels near the surface, soldiers stopped mid-step. Weapons grew heavy, magic faltered. The golden light of the upper realm flickered as shadows moved where they shouldn't have. The sky over Lunaria dimmed. The trees in Umbra Noctis began to bloom. The curse, which had kept the realms divided for 1,000 years, was gone.
What is that?
Something's wrong. I can't feel the sun's pull.
Hold position. No one moves until we understand this.
Queen Selatiel rode ahead on her warbeast. She looked up as the moon shifted. She knew what it meant, and for the first time in her rule, she hesitated. Liora senses the ritual and arrives too late. She stopped halfway through the tunnel. Her chest tightened. Something felt wrong. She turned around and ran. By the time she reached the chamber, Eliar was alone. Kalin's body was slumped beside the heart.
Oh no. Why did you do this to me? You said you wouldn't.
He wanted peace.
The Light Elf army reached the border by dawn. Selatiel led from the front, but they were not met by fear. They were met by truth and numbers. The Dark Elves, united behind Eliar, defended their home. Selatiel was struck down in the final wave. The war ended in silence. News of Queen Selatiel's death spread quickly. The Light Elf court stood broken, uncertain. until they remembered who still had royal blood. They sent envoys to the Shadowed Realm, begging Liora to return. She did not answer at once. Eliar had chosen to remain among the Drow, where he was now king. Not by title, but by the will of the people who trusted him. He would not return to Lunaria. So Liora stood before both realms. She agreed to rule, but only under one condition. Kalin would be remembered every year, not as a prince, but as the one who gave everything. And the two kingdoms would never again stand apart. The Light Elves accepted. That day, Liora became Queen of the Light, while Ilya remained King of the Drow. Two rulers, two peoples, one realm, born from sacrifice. Later that night, father and daughter sat alone.
You should have told me.
I didn't know how.
You gave up everything.
I gained something better.
They sat together, no longer divided. Moonveil returned again. The two moons hung high, casting long shadows on the path Liora now walked alone. She wore no crown tonight, no robes, only the memory of him. She entered the heart chamber. It stood as it did a year ago, alive, balanced, glowing with quiet power. Kalin's body was gone, but not his presence. Liora stepped forward and placed both hands where he once did.
You were not just the one who ended the war. You ended the lie. You gave everything and never asked for anything back. I thought love was something that lived in secret. But you showed me it could save a world. You changed mine. And now I carry both halves, light and shadow, because of you. You weren't cursed, Kalin. You were the cure.
The heart pulsed again, not with grief, but with peace. Outside the chamber, two banners now flew, one of light, one of dark. No longer enemies, but one realm.
Thanks for watching, Diary Gang. That wasn't just a story, that was a memory. Tap subscribe to join the Diary Gang and keep riding with stories that hit different. Cheers!